Are you moving through your emotions or are you distracting yourself from your emotions? You got to move them if you want to co create your best life. Welcome back to Universal Laws with Kristy Sturdivant. We are finishing out this high vibe month with the law of vibration and emotional vibration. In this past month, I have discussed how I see our frequency being put out into the universe in three separate prongs. We have your physical vibration, we have your mental vibration, and then you have your emotional vibration. And all of those combined together can make up your frequency, which goes out to the universe to help you co-create. So let's talk about emotions. They're a touchy subject. They can be very triggering for some. They are something that a lot of us have tended to compartmentalize or perhaps distract ourselves from in the past, but no more. Okay. We are moving on with our lives and we are going to be moving these emotions so that we can release them and co-create our best life. Let's go. So you can hear all about my thoughts on human design and emotions in this video, where I have been chatting with Candace Bethel in depth on our Cinder and Salt podcast about emotions. I think we have maybe 2 or 3 episodes about emotions up right now. I'll link those. And it's a big topic, right? Emotions are one of those things that can feel really, really fantastic, or they can feel really, really terrible. So we have dedicated multiple episodes, and I don't want to rehash everything. So I'll link those. Subscribe to that if that is something you're interested in. That is a little bit more of a salty podcast. So be prepared to perhaps be a little bit triggered. But today I want to talk about 5 steps that I have personally been using in the last 5 or 6 years to deal with my emotions. Now, I have mentioned in the past that I am emotionally disconnected, perhaps, or I used to be very disconnected from my emotions, disconnected from my body. They were this thing that, my generation never really knew what to do with them. We were just told to be quiet, tap them down, don't think about it, and just move on with your life. So this has been something that I have had to come to terms with later on in my life, something that I have been trying to, as I'm untangling myself, teach my children how to deal with in a proper, healthy way. And so it's been something that I have explored and experimented a lot with over the past 5 or 6 years. And these are the 5 steps that I use to help me move through my emotions so that they don't clog up my body and, clog up my vibration and frequency to the universe, right? So when it comes to co-creation or manifestation or whatever term you want to use, I mentioned this before, but when we look at our 3 prongs, our physical, our mental, and our emotional aspects of our frequency, the emotional one is the one that takes up probably the most space. It's the most important in order to manifest your reality or co-create with the universe, because if you can't feel it, you can't manifest it. You can perhaps mentally manifest it and bring it in for a while, but it's not necessarily going to feel good because you are not a match vibrationally, right? Like you can force yourself into manifesting sometimes, but if you can't actually feel it in your body, which is what the emotional aspect is, not the physical, you would think it would be the physical, but no, emotions, you have to be able to feel it emotionally. If you cannot feel it emotionally, you're going to have a really hard time pulling in what you desire. So think about that, mull it over, and maybe contemplate how you can feel what you want. All right. If you cannot feel yourself walking on a moonlit beach in Hawaii with the love of your life, and you can't physically feel what it's like to walk on the sand, holding hands, gazing out in the ocean with the whales' tails. If you can't feel super, super happy about that, or super loving or grateful, or any of those emotions that you associate with that, you're not going to be able to manifest it in a very timely manner. You might eventually, and it's very possible because people have done it. But if you want a nice, easy path to manifestation, feel your feelings. Okay. Now let's jump into those 5 tips that I keep talking about. All right. 1, acknowledge that you are having an emotion. Seems silly, but I think a lot of us kind of get distracted throughout the day and forget that we are human beings who have emotions. I know, shocking, right? So if you are going down your stairs or into your kitchen and you see a mess that perhaps someone else or yourself left in the kitchen the night before or something, and it's very triggering to you, instead of going off the rails and yelling and screaming about how this is disgusting and you don't want to be around it, first acknowledge, hey, this is very frustrating. This is making me really angry. Okay? Once you acknowledge that feeling that you have, whatever it may be, it kind of takes it out of yourself and puts it in front of your face like, oh, hey, frustration, how are you doing? It seems silly, but it's the first step in kind of removing yourself from that hyped up moment. Acknowledge it. I am frustrated. I am angry. I feel like this is something that therapists probably are trying to teach people to do. Like, acknowledge that you have your emotions. Use those I am statements. I'm annoyed. I'm frustrated. I am angry. And just say what you are, or maybe you don't even know what it is, which moves into step 2. Just acknowledge the fact that you are having an emotion on any level. It's a huge thing, right? We have them all the time. They are constantly moving through our bodies. But I think we are living in this day and age where it's so easy to ignore them or distract ourselves. So acknowledge them and then start to untangle them. This is when actually you're going to start naming them, because maybe it's not just you're frustrated. Maybe you're frustrated that you see these dishes that had been left out, and you're angry because you have mentioned before that it kind of drives you crazy and you wish that people wouldn't do that. But there's also a little bit of overwhelm in there because it's just another thing that you have to do before you actually get into the nitty-gritty of your day. So see, when we acknowledge that we have an emotion and then we start naming the emotions, we can find that we have a lot of emotions that are entwined with each other. And so naming which aspects we are feeling, it can kind of help us say, okay, I'm overwhelmed. Why am I overwhelmed? Can I take a moment to stop and take 2 or 3 deep breaths to work through this? Is this a high priority? Maybe it is. Maybe there's ants crawling all over the food and it's a super high priority. Or perhaps maybe it's something that you could leave for just an hour longer while you hop on that meeting or attend to that email that is also urgent, right? So pulling these emotions apart and kind of identifying which aspects are triggering to you can be very helpful, and then naming them, because maybe you don't really feel angry at all. Maybe you're actually really sad that you're being ignored and nobody's actually listening to you. So it's a big experiment, and it's something that we all need to do every once in a while, because emotions are not just these things that pop up and say, this is the emotion that I'm feeling right now. And then we're sitting in that one emotion. Maybe it's like that, but I have found over the years that my emotions are tangled up in little bitty yarn vomit knots sometimes. And when I can start naming which aspects are in those yarn tangled knots, I can start unwinding them and untangling them and saying, okay, this is what I'm actually feeling about this, and this is what is making me sad. It's not this that's upsetting me. It's piggybacking onto this. It's a super fun and annoying thing at the same time to do, because I, like a lot of people, kind of just move on with my life and say, "Oh, I'm so angry." And then I push those emotions down inside of me. And then I move on until they build up, build up, build up, and then erupt like a volcano. So not helpful, so not healthy. Okay. So we're going to untangle and name all of the little of emotions that we can figure out are in this moment because we've already pulled it outside and acknowledged that we're having them. Now we just need to look at them and say, "Hey, what's in this little tangle that we want to deal with at this moment?" And then the next thing that I like to do is I like to see like what is triggering this? Why am I so angry? What is going on in my life that this has like culminated into this moment? Now, I have found that this particular step is not always necessary. I think sometimes, and I am guilty of this, I have dove too far into my idea of emotions and I want to take them down this nice long journey to figure out why they're here and what triggered this. And was this something that happened when I was like 15 in high school when that person said this to me? Is this why I'm like this now? It's not really necessary to do that. If you enjoy doing that kind of thing every once in a while and you have time to do that thing, then sure, explore that because there's probably some pattern in there that you may be repeating that is continually triggering this particular instance, but it's not always necessary. Sometimes we have emotions coming at us a lot and they're not even ours, right? This is especially true if you are an open emotional solar plexus, if you have an open emotional solar plexus. So I have a defined emotional solar plexus, so I am very familiar with my emotions and I can feel what they feel like. Yes, this is mine. No, this is mine. Move it through. I have this consistent way of feeling emotions and moving through them. But if you're an open emotional solar plexus or have one of these open emotional solar plexus, you might be feeling all kinds of random things that you're like, "Whoa, what's this? Hey, this is interesting." You don't need to know where it's coming from. You can just acknowledge it and then move on to the next step, which is where is it being held in your body? Okay, this is a really interesting thing, and this is the thing that tripped me up the most when I was dealing with emotions because people would say, "Well, where are you holding your emotions in your body?" And I'd say, "What? I'm not connected to my body. I don't know." And so I had to go back through this whole big long process of where is that being held in my body and where where do I feel this in my body? You have to become very familiar with your body and where you're holding your emotions. So I know that for me, when I feel tension in my shoulders or tension in the back of my neck, it's for me, it's a signal of anxiety. Oh, I'm anxious about something. Why am I anxious about it? I can feel the tightness in there. If I am feeling a fiery ball in my stomach, that is usually like a little bit of a fear for me. Okay. And when I am angry, like it shoots up the back of my spine like I am an absolute volcano about to erupt. I can just like feel it going up through my spine to my head, and it just consumes me. I don't know why. I have a lot of anger issues apparently, but those are my main ones that I can feel. Now, when I am happy and I am feeling in this moment of gratitude, like I can literally feel my whole body vibrating. I get so happy and I get so excited. I get so happy sometimes that I will just start tearing up and crying. This is a new thing that I have just begun experiencing in probably the last 5 or 6 years. Definitely since I had kids. I thought it was hormonal, but it's not. It's actually a heart-opening sensation. I talked about this in another podcast that I will link below about unconditional love. But I will just, when I am so happy about something and I see a happy commercial or I watch a happy movie or I just hear somebody say something happy, I'll just start tearing up and crying. So that's how I know when I'm happy. It just comes out of my tear ducts. How fun is that, right? So become really familiar with your body and start associating what emotions are coming up when you are having different sensations in your body. Maybe this is something that you already do and you're thinking, duh, Kristy, of course I already do that. That's something I learned how to do in kindergarten. To which I say, congratulations, that is amazing. And I'm so happy for you that you don't have to worry about reprogramming your body and becoming hyper aware of it. All right. So we now know where this is being held within our body. And now it's time to move that emotion and release it. Okay. I have found that when I have emotions, and this is because also I have a defined emotional solar plexus, my emotions naturally move through me, right? I have an emotional wave. This is how I make decisions. It can be very slow to make these big decisions, but they will move through my body. Emotions will move through my body, whether they are mine or whether perhaps they are coming in from a different area into my emotions. Maybe they're coming from the collective. Maybe they're coming from someone else that I've been around. These emotions will naturally move through my body. If you have an undefined emotional solar plexus, I think you probably have to physically move them through your body. Like you have to be very aware of what is coming in and very conscious of what you are feeling, and then recognize whether or not those emotions are really yours, and then let them move through your body so that they don't collect in there and muck up your system. Because I think that it would be very difficult for open emotional solar plexuses to consume or take in or pull in a lot of different energies and not know how to move them. I think it's very important. Half of the population has an open emotional solar plexus. And so half of the population is like just feeling all the feelings all the time. And that's got to be exhausting. So you're going to want to find some way to move these through your system. And whether that be grabbing an emotion and saying, oh, why am I feeling overwhelmed? Well, I'm in a room full of people hustling and bustling, trying to, get their job done. Perhaps this is not my overwhelm. Maybe I just need to release it. Or perhaps you are feeling something else and you do realize that is yours. And you're like, okay, this is mine. I'm going to sit with it. I'm going to feel it. I got it. I got what I need from it. Now it's time to release it. And there's a lot of different ways that we can release our emotions. I think that one of the best ways to release emotions is verbally. It's why I have a podcast. It's actually why I have like 3 podcasts, because for me, I get a lot of information through my body and through my emotions, just like we all do. And for me, I can integrate it by talking through it in the moment. So when I am feeling like, ooh, I have something to say, I'm feeling really excited and very hyper about it, this is when I can come on and I can talk about it to everybody because it flows through me a little bit easier. I have a lot of other activities I like to, when I am sitting there and contemplating emotions or I'm anxious or something, I need to move my body. I knit, I spin, I do a lot of walks. I like to sometimes practice the ukulele. There's a lot of things, but I find that expressing our emotions in something that is outside of ourselves physically really helps us move through them better. Sitting down and like watching a movie when I'm already feeling really poopy makes me sit in that emotions a lot longer than I want to. I need to get up and physically do something. I need to move it out of me. And I need to, if I do it in a creative, expressive way, it's better for me because that's just how I'm built. So that is the last one. So those are five things that I have found over the years as someone who was very disconnected from their body, very disconnected from my emotions, really took a lot of things personally and let emotions build up inside of me to where it kind of physically broke my body. These are the 5 things that I have used personally to start moving through my emotions. I'm not perfect at it because this is a big journey process type thing, but I'm much better than I used to be, and I'm a lot healthier than I used to be, and probably a lot more tolerable to live around too. At least I like to think so. So, emotions, super, super important when we're co creating with the universe. If you have a more efficient way or a technique that you like to use to move your emotions through your body, please comment and let us know because it's good to have different perspectives when we're talking about these things because we need to know how to deal with this so that we can all co create our best lives and raise the vibration of everyone around us so that, we can all be happy and living our best lives. So that's all. I'll catch you guys later. Bye.